Hey guys, Peter here. This video is going to be another continuation chord application to a song in the key of G major. We've done C major now. We're just going to continue on with G major, and the song that I've chose to apply some of these chords to is going to be the song Let Her Go. Okay, so of course we're going to talk about our key a little bit and about the scale, get us familiarized with the key, and then we're going to start learning all the chords within that key and then practice them with the chord application. Okay, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell, so that you're alerted when I do post these, and also please smash the like button. Thank you guys for being here. Let's get started. So we're in the key of G, and so what does that mean in terms of what you'll see in music? Okay, we're gonna see one sharp in the key of our music. Okay, and that sharp is going to be F. Okay, and you'll see it here. I have the key signature up so you know what to expect when you see it. We're in the key of G. I'll have that one sharp on F. The top line for treble clef, and then the second line from the top in bass clef. Okay, let's go through the scale. Okay, so a scale goes from letter to letter without skipping any letters. Okay, and all we have to do is just apply the key signature, that F sharp, to that scale. So we'll play from G to G without skipping any letters. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, adding F sharp. And let's see what that looks like on the piano. We're going to go right hand first. We're going to go ahead and put our thumb on G. Okay, here we go. Continuing up. Again, not skipping any letters. So A, B. Notice the next note, C, is with our thumb. So we're going to drive our thumb, our car, underneath the tunnel to C. Okay, continuing up, D second, E third, F sharp, and if we were ending here, we would just end it with our pinky and then move back down. But now, I want to practice this 2 octaves. I think it gives us the best understanding, the best room to understand how these scales get connected together and repeat. So after our F sharp on our 4th finger, our thumb again, imagining our thumb is a car, hence the tunnel, driving underneath the tunnel to G. Okay, now, 2nd finger A from here just repeats, right? B, C, D, 2nd finger, 3rd finger E, 4th finger F sharp, G. Now back down. Okay, now remember that alternation. Hopefully you've seen my C major video. I talk about an alternation between 3 and 4. Here's where we see it, crossing over to the 3rd finger on B, A, G, now crossing over to our 4th finger on F sharp. 3E, 2D, thumb C, 3rd finger now on B, A, and then ending on our G with our thumb. Now, because of that 3-4 alternation within our fingers, okay, our 4th finger will only play 1 note per hand per scale. So in this case, our right hand on the key of G, our 4th finger will only play that F sharp, okay? 4, 4, no matter how many octaves I go, and the same thing on the 4, 4, 4, okay? Always the 4th finger F sharp there. Left hand, our 4th finger is going to be A, so we're gonna see that as we play. So 5th finger on G, pinky, starting. Here we go. 4A, 3B, 2C. Continuing up, crossing over to our 3rd finger now on E, 2nd finger F sharp, G. Now, after G, our thumb is going to continue. We're going to cross over to our 4th finger on A. Now I'm making these big motions so you see them. Know that when you're playing these, you just want to have your hand move as low to the keys as you can and not have these big motions. You're going to slow yourself down that way. Okay. 3rd finger B, 2nd finger C, thumb D, crossing over to our 3rd finger now on E. Again, kind of a repeat, right? Back down. Thumb underneath to D, 2nd finger, A with our 4th finger, and our thumb is going to move underneath to G. Again, that checkpoint 4th finger on A. Now, as we do this, what I want you to try to start thinking about is trying to get your hand, your thumb, to move immediately. And what I mean by that is, take a look at this. As soon as I'm done playing G, my thumb's already moving underneath, getting ready to play D with my thumb. And that's just going to help you be much faster when you play these scales. It's actually very hard to do. I've had students in the past where I tell them to just start moving the thumb, and they end up wanting to play the next note with their thumb. But you're not playing the next note, you're just preparing it for the note that it needs to be. Okay? It's a very, very tough thing to do. It takes a lot of muscle like strength. Like you have to really think about what's going on. Because it's hard. As soon as your thumb moves, you want to play it. But practice, making your thumb move, but allowing it to wait until it plays at the correct time, right? Very, very tough to do at the beginning. Okay, leave your comments below if you find it difficult. Okay, it's actually quite tough. Now, of course, practice these separately. Practice them hand separately. Get 2 octaves with the right hand and left hand. Work on putting them together. Okay. If you see my C major video, this has the same checkpoint that you can use. Our third fingers will line up. 3, 3, 3, 3. No matter how many octaves you go. So when you put them together, check those third fingers. Make sure they line up so that you know you're doing it correctly. Okay? Let's go ahead and talk about the chords within the key of G. Now, all chords are based on skips. Okay, that's super, super important. G skips A to B, skips C to D. Okay, so one of the things you can do, especially keeping all the chords within this key, is you can write out your scale. Write out G, A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, right? G, A, B, C, D. And so that way you can literally go through and you can see these skips that I'm going to be talking about, right? G major, it's going to be G, B, and D. Now the next set of skips, if you had it written out in front of you, would be A, skips B to C, skips D to E. A, C, and E is our A minor chord. Now these 2 chords should be very familiar if you watched my C major video. You'll see these chords already. This next one is new. B minor. Okay, take the time to look at this. B, D, F, sharp. We still have our skips, right? Letter skips. B skips C to D. D skips E to F. But in our key signature, we have F sharp. B, D, F sharp. And I want to give you guys an example of something that won't happen in terms of notation-wise. Another name for F sharp, another what we call enharmonic, another name for F sharp is our G flat. But if you think B, D, G flat, even though the pitches are technically correct, the spelling is not correct. Okay? Because it does, from D to G is not a skip. It's actually a fourth. It's further than a skip. And that's why we use the notation F sharp. And also G flat's not in the key signature, right? But it's not spelled correctly. It's like saying I have 2 feet and spelling it T-O. That's the equivalent of saying G flat. You know, it might sound correct. I have 2 feet, but if you spell it T-O, then it's obviously spelled incorrectly, right? So, B, D, and F sharp, B minor. Here we go. Let's continue on. C major, C, E, and G, and you should remember that from the first video. D major, a little bit different. D, F sharp, and A. Next one, E minor, E, G, and B. And then last but not least, our F sharp diminished. Okay, it's a little bit different than major and minor, right? It's much different than major, but it is different than our minor. Okay, we're not going to talk about how it's formed or anything like that right now, but no. And you can think about this for every key that we do. The 7th scale degree, the last one before it repeats back to G, or the key that it's in, will always be a diminished chord. So this is F sharp diminished chord. Let's go over those again one more time quickly. G major, G, B, D, A minor, A, C, E, B minor, B, D, and F sharp, C major, C, E, and G, D major, D, F sharp, and A, E minor, E, G, and B, and then last of the key is going to be F sharp diminished, F sharp, A, and C. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and apply these key signatures, these chords, right? And we're going to kind of play them in the song. Now, if you know the song Let Her Go, it has this whole intro. We're not going to be taking the time to look at that right now. We're just going to be focusing on applying chords and playing these in very musical ways. And maybe you can take some of these stylistic things and add them to your own music if you decide you want to start writing music. Okay, so we're going to start right when the words start. And this particular song starts on the chorus, and so that's where we'll start with our chords. Now, the key that we are in is in G, but the first chord that we play for the chorus is not a G. It's actually a C major. Okay, so let's go over these. And I'll put up the music here so you can see, but every time the chorus or the verse happens, it kind of happens in this 7-chord pattern. Okay, and you'll see it here. It's like 4 chords, and then it's 3. Okay, and so you'll see that here. So, first chord we have, and we'll do everything for now in root position. We'll talk about inversions in just a little bit. C major is the first chord, and you'll see the rhythm slashes. You'll see how many beats. 2 for 2 beats, right? G for 2. D major is our next one. D, F sharp, and A. Again, within the key signature, we have F sharp in our key signature. And then E minor, E, G, and B. Let's do those 4 again. So we have C for 2, 2, G for 2, and D major for 2, and then E minor for 2. And now let's take a look at those last 3 before we do inversions. C for 2, C for 2, G for 2, and then D for 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's our progression of 7. And you'll see the same progression of 7 when we do the verse too. It's just going to be a different order of the chords, and we're going to learn another chord with it. Okay? Okay. Now, what does our left hand do? Our left hand just plays the note of the chord that is being played. So, C is the first one. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and start pulsing already. We're going to pulse each beat with our right hand. Our left hand will just play and hold. So here we listen to this. Here we go. C. 1, 2, G. 1, 2, D. E minor. C again. D. I'm sorry. C. G. D. 2, 3, 4. And there it is. Okay. If that's moving too fast, just pause it, take a look at the chords, go over the chords again. You really want to know all of your chords within the scale, and that'll help you really get through this part much faster. Understanding the chords within the key. And right now, this is G major, so this is not the toughest of keys. When we start getting into where we have 6 sharps in the key signature, that's when it gets tough. So start here now, start memorizing all of these chords within each key, okay, and practice them within each key. Here we go. Now we're gonna go ahead and take this chorus and we're gonna throw it into inversions right away. And if you saw my C major video, I always talk about keeping everything around C major. You can use the higher keys for contrast for a certain effect, but I think for the most part, at the beginning, stick around the middle of your keyboard. And if you have maybe a smaller size keyboard, stay towards like the middle again, but make sure that your hands have enough room to move. So you don't want to be too low. If you have a really short keyboard, stick a little bit higher for your right hand and your left hand so they both fit. Okay, but full size keyboards and pianos, middle C is always a good place to be. Okay, oh, that kind of rhymed. I like that. Middle C is the place to be. Here we go. Now. The first chord is C, so I'm taking my C chord and I'm moving G down to the bottom. Okay, next chord is G major, G, B, and D. I already have G held. Move to G major, C major, C, E, and G. G major, okay. Now, this is where things, this is where you kind of have the freedom to kind of choose and pick your inversions based on what sound you want to hear. Because right here, the next chord is our D major chord, and I already have D here. So what I can do for this D major chord, I have D here already. I need F sharp and A. I can hold on to that D there. and move to F sharp and A here, and that would be correct, right? I can decide that I want to move down my inversion, and that's up to you. That's a personal choice, and you want to decide what sound do you want to hear. Do you want to hear it move down? Or the other option here is from G major to go to D major, G, B, and D, is to just lift your hand and move up one inversion. Okay? D, F sharp, and A this way as opposed to that way. And again, it's really, that's the fun part about doing chords, is that you can really make it your own. You know, these pop songs don't have like written piano music. You know, like you have the freedom. If you're doing a cover, if you're singing along, you can choose whatever inversion you would like depending on the sound that you want to hear. So I can go G, D, or if I want to hear this, G, and I have the same chord, just a different inversion, and it creates a different sound in our ear. Okay, so I'll let you choose. Okay, I'm gonna go to this one, and if you want to practice along with me, I recommend going up to this one as well, so you can practice. D, F sharp, and A this way. Next chord being E minor. So E minor, E, G, and B. E, G, and B. If we're gonna keep it in inversions, and one of the things to remember is that whenever we have two chords that are next to each other in terms of letter, that means everything's just going to move up. So move up or down one, right? So if it goes from like D to C, that means I'm just going to take everything and move it down one. There's nothing in common with chords that are written next to each other. C to D or A to B. No letters are going to be in common because of those skip properties. They're going to skip over each note of the chord. So D major to E minor, just move every single note up one pitch. So E, G, B, you can be here. Okay? Or D major, E minor, E, G, and B. Okay? Okay, and again, this will be up to you. What we want to make sure that we do is we always go back to our first set of inversions here. And this is where we first were, C, E, and G. So let's go ahead and move this inversion, D, F sharp, and A. And let's move it up, E, G, and B. But now when we repeat back to C, we're going to move our inversion back down to make sure that we start the same way we were. C, E, and G, and then G again, right? 2 beats, and now it's D for 4. Now, I like from here, because it's like the end of the phrase, I think getting a little bit lower is okay. 2, 3, 4. Let me play that all for you. So C major, G for 2, D for 2, E minor for 2, C for 2, G for 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let me know in the comments what inversion you guys decide to use for that. Do you decide to go up on D, or down on D? And if you can, I don't know if you can send recordings in the comments or not, but if you can, send them so I can listen to them. Okay. Let's go ahead, and I want to continue on now, but I want to do the verses now. So we learned all the choruses. Let's go into the verses, because now this is a little bit different. Okay. This particular progression is going to start on our E minor chord. So let's do everything root position. E minor, E, G, and B. Okay, again, and you'll see this here in front of me. Again, it's that progression of 7. E minor for 2, C for 2, D for 2, so D, F sharp, and A, and then B minor for 2. Okay, and then that repeats. E again, E minor, and then C, and now D for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we've already done these inversions. The only thing that we need to add into it is that B minor. So let's take a look at that. I like E minor. We're just going to move our B down to the bottom. We're going to start in inversions already. E, G, and B. 1, 2. Next chord is C. We're already here for our C. All we have to do is take our B and move it up to C. C, E, and G. Next chord, D. D, F sharp, and A. Now look at this. D major and B minor have a couple notes in common. D and F sharp. So to move from D major to B minor, all I have to do is move my thumb up. Notice both chords do that, right? E minor to C, I just move my thumb up. D major to B minor, I move my thumb up. That's all I do for both of them. Let's do that as 4 chords. E minor for 2, C major for 2, D major for 2, B minor for 2. And then we've already seen these inversions. E minor again, C for 2, now D for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the bass, I'm going to add the bass to it, and again, note of the chord. So E minor, 1, 2, C, 2, D, 2, B, 2. E minor, C, D, 2, 3, 4. And those are your 2 sections, okay? And that pretty much covers like the entire song, other than that little riff that you have at the intro. But this pretty much covers the entire song. And again, we're just playing chords. We're not doing anything special, just adding chords. Now, this is a really good song to kind of mess around with the bass a little bit. I want to talk about that. A lot of the chords are only a couple of notes away from each other, and so you can have what we call a moving bass. So listen to this. I want to start with that chord progression that we were just working with. E minor to C, D to B. Listen to this. E minor to C is only 2 notes away. So what I'm going to do with my bass is I'm going to walk the bass down. Listen to this. 1, 2. Did you hear that? I just moved right after it. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay? Or you can do it at the same time. I don't like that so much because of how the song goes, so I just like doing it afterwards. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And you can do the same thing from D to B minor. D, 2. Okay? Now the question becomes, well, which notes do I use to move? And for the most part, until you start experimenting, and this is something to experiment on, you want to keep all the moving notes within the key. So I wouldn't do, see already that sounds weird because I'm outside of the key. D. It just doesn't work if you move outside of the key. So make sure you keep all the notes that you move. D, B, E, and D. 2, 3, 4. Okay? And you can do these down the octave. 4. And that's a totally stylistic thing. If you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. If you're not comfortable moving that left hand around, I completely understand. Practice getting these chords down first, okay? Now, one of the things on both sections, the chorus and the verse, that last 4 beats is all a D chord. So I want to show you something that you can do to kind of spice it up a little bit. Is you can add what we call a suspension chord. In this case, sus4, suspension, going a 4-3 suspension. And so what we're going to do, and I want to show you what a suspension means. Because it's going to be on D, we're going to talk about the D chord. Okay, D, F sharp, and A. All a sus chord, it does is it takes the third of the chord, the middle note of the chord, F sharp in this case, and either moves it up by scale degree or moves it down. So this would be what we call a sus2, because this, instead of it being the third, it's the second note, D, E. Or we have a sus4, because it's the fourth note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and in this case, we're going to use a sus4. And I'm going to use a sus4 on beat 3. Get my fingers right. Beat 3 of that. So listen to how this is going to sound. And we're going to resolve it too. So we're going to have a sus4 and then back to a normal D major. And notice that sus4 is the G, so we're going to be going from G to F sharp. So listen to how this is going to sound. I'll play the chord progression we were just working with. D major, B minor, E minor, C. Listen to this D chord. D major, normal D, sus4, normal D. And that's something just to add a little bit of extra flavoring. So let's listen to that. I'll play it full speed so you can kind of hear now. E minor, C, and D, sus4, D. And that's another way to just kind of add a little bit more motion to it. Now let's listen to that, what it would sound like with our chorus music, right? We start on C, right? So here we go. C, G, D, E minor, C, G, D. Here we go. C, G, D, E minor, C, G, D, sus4, G to F sharp. Okay, let me do that again. Here we go. D, sus4, and then it can repeat that way depending on which way you're going. If you're going back into the chorus or into the verse, you guys decide which direction you're going. Okay, I hope this was really helpful. Again, just another way of practicing these chords is to apply them to a song, and so that way you can hear maybe something that maybe you want to implement into your own music if you're a music writer, especially if you're new to the piano and you're trying to write out some music. This is really good help for that. Okay, if you had any questions, please just leave them in the comments below. I do read them, all of them, so leave them there. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell, let you know that I've released a new video, and please smash the like button for me. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, and I'll see you guys next time.